Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies, and this video is going to be about Occult Anatomy, the Human Brain by Manly P. Hall. An article taken from the All-Seeing Eye, Volume 2, Number 3, January 1924. Occult Anatomy, the Human Brain. A very great number of analogies exist between the human brain and the Christian Bible, and also the other sacred scriptures of the world. The skull, of course, represents the temple on the mountaintop, and its dome is the dome of the head. It is up this mountain that the spirit fire climbs on its path of liberation, passing upward through the 33 steps of the Masonic initiation, which are, of course, the vertebrae of the spine. It enters the domed room of the skull where the great mystery initiations are given. The Himalayan mountains can be correlated to the human body, and the sacred temple that is somewhere upon their heights is again the brain. In the brain, the mountains, there are caves everywhere, according to the legends. The wise men are the great yogis and hermits. Here again, the analogy is perfect. For in the cave of the human brain are the spiritualized sense centers, which are the holy men. These holy men are the 7 sleepers of the Mohammedan Quran, who remain in the darkness of their caves until the spirit fire vitalizes them and brings them into manifestation. The brain, of course, is the upper room referred to in the Gospel, where Christ met with his disciples, and it is said the disciples represent the convolutions of the brain. These gather around the center opening, which is the Holy of Holies, the point from which the spirit finally ascends in Golgotha, the place in the skull. The God in man dwells in his heaven, while the Christ dwells in the heart, and Jehovah in the generative system. These are the trinity in man, and the unfoldment and transmutation of these 3 result in the sounding of AUM, the great word. In the cerebellum, or rear brain, which has charge of the motive system of the human body, which is the highest brain of the animal, is found a little tree-like growth, which has long been symbolized as a sprig of acacia, referred to in the Masonic allegory. The skull is the little room with the hole in the floor, so often referred to in the ancient mysteries, for the main opening of the skull is the Foramen Magnum, through which the spinal cord with its nerves pass. Medical science now knows that the spinal cord is an elongation of the brain and is capable of intelligence like the brain. This cord is the flaming sword which stands at the gates of the Garden of Eden, which is in the human skull. The Greek god Atlas carried the heavens on his shoulders, and the upper vertebrae on the spine is called the Atlas, and the skull articulating with this bone, which is provided with rockers, gives us the back and forward motion of the head. This is in itself sufficient proof of the analogy that exists between the ancient and modern worlds. The brain is filled with vaulted chambers and passageways, which are in exact accord with the spans and arches of the ancient temples, while the 3rd ventricle is undoubtedly the Great Pyramid Chamber. The spinal cord is the serpent of the ancients. In Central and South America, Quetzalcoatl is symbolized as a serpent with either 7 or 9 rattles. 9 is the correct number, for it represents the sacrum and coccygeal bones which contain within their nerve centers the secret of human evolution. Every organ of the physical body is reproduced in the brain, where it can be discovered by anyone who wishes to exert the power of analogy. The 2 ductless glands of the brain are well worth considering, for they play a very important part in the unfolding of human consciousness. They are the head and the tail of the dragon of wisdom. The pituitary body, which rests in the salicer sicca of the sphenoid bone directly behind, and just a little below the bridge of the nose, is the female pole or negative center and has charge of the expressions of physical energy. It is known under the following symbols by the ancients: the alchemical retort, the mouth of the dragon, the Virgin Mary, the Holy Grail, the sacrificial dish, the laver of purification, one of the cherubim of the ark, the Isis of Egypt, the Radha of India, and is the hope of glory of the physical man. Behind this and a little lower in the brain is the pineal gland, which does not look unlike a pine cone from which it secured its name. It is the tail of the dragon and has a tiny finger-like protrudence at the end. This is Joseph, the staff of God, the holy sphere, the evaporating aperture of the alchemist, the spiritual organ which is later going to become what it once was, a great organ of sense orientation. The third ventricle is the great place of initiation, where the spiritual consciousness of man passes through a great series of purifications and where the essence is extracted from his food and transmuted into thought, action, and desire, and returned again like the prodigal son to the house of his father. Between the eyes is located the seat of the human spirit in the frontal sinus, where phrenology knows as the organ of individuality, while the palatine bone at the roof of the mouth is the palatine hill of the ancients upon which were built the temples of Jupiter and Juno, which are the human eyes. The cross represents the human body. The upper limb of it is the head of man rising above the horizontal line of matter. The great churches and cathedrals of the world have been built in the form of a cross and contain, where the head should be, the altar where 2 or more candles burn continually. This is the Sectum Sectorum of the Masonic Temple, and is the temple of occult initiation to which only the pure in spirit can aspire. The winged bone which medical science knows as the sphenoid is the Egyptian scarab, while the spinal cord is the sacred tree of the ancients, which had its roots in heaven and its branches on earth. Man is an inverted plant and gains his nourishment from the sun as the plant does from the earth. So as the life of the planet ascends, it shoots to nourish the body. The life of man descends to produce a similar result. Here it remains in the lower world until regeneration of the 3 body centers pours 3 streams of spirit fire into the spinal canal, where it passes upwards, taking the degrees of initiation as it goes, until finally it enters the sacred temple, where the 12 masters sit in meditation and rule the world. The gods of old came down from heaven and walked the earth. In a similar way, the god powers in man descend from the heaven of his brain to carry on the work of constructing and reconstructing natural substance. Man's body will slowly be resolved until nothing remains but the great globular brain, radiating 7 perfect sense perceptions, which are the saviors he is bringing into the world to redeem it. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.